LSU baseball coach Jay Johnson is dead set on the Tigers returning to Omaha in 2025, and he is currently putting his reconstructed roster through fall camp. 26 new players, a roster ranked number 1 by D1Baseball.com, filled with highly rated transfers in the top recruiting class in the country. Baseball America currently ranks LSU number 1 in the nation in 2025. But who is going to pitch for LSU? Who is going to catch? And who will replace Tommy White at third base and at the plate? Longtime baseball SID Bill Franques has the scoop on this edition of TigerRag.com's Audibles with Guilbeau and Todd Horne. I'm your host, Jake McMains, and all that and more right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Munderland, and we're here to smash the capital city's trash.
Smash My Trash is a revolutionary compactor for large dumpsters, sometimes reducing the volume of waste by up to 70%. This means fewer hauls per month and big savings for your business. Fewer hauls and compacted waste will also result in a positive impact on our community and our environment by taking up less space in our local landfill sites. Schedule your company's free demo today. Call 225-497-0101.
Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches.
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
The players.
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, man.
The recruits.
Show some passion and some heart.
And those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the SEC.
All those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU talk.
What a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Helm Paint and Decorating. The paint experts of Louisiana. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Max Home. And the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Jackson Blackman and our hosts, Todd Horne and Jeff Palermo.
3 great players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio.
Jeff Palermo is not with us. This is Glenn Guilbeau replacing him here on Tiger Rag Radio with executive editor Todd Horne. And thanks to the Max Home hotline, where there's over 50,000 Max Happy Home owners and counting via the Max Home hotline. We're joined now by LSU Assistant Sports Information Director Bill Franques. Bill, how are you?
Hey, Glenn, how's it going? How are y'all tonight?
Good. Hey, Bill, I want to ask you first about your temporary gig as Dan Bornay is out temporarily as the Tiger Stadium public address announcer. You've sounded great, man. You have a different energy for football than baseball. They're different sports, and you've adapted. How have you enjoyed that so far?
I appreciate that.
Sure.
I really have enjoyed it, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity. And, of course, Dan Bornay is a legend in LSU athletics, both with his PA announcing it for football and men's basketball. And my understanding is Dan is doing better health-wise.
Great.
In fact, he spoke to Kent Lowe earlier this week. Ken, of course, handles communications for men's basketball. And Dan indicated that he might be able to come back at some point during basketball season, maybe announce. That was certainly great news. And looking forward to Dan's return. And then perhaps he'll be back next season in Tiger Stadium as well. But, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. After all those years of being a baseball PA announcer, there is a little bit of an adjustment. There's a little more energy, a little more intensity in Tiger Stadium than there is at the box. Although the box gets pretty intense, but 100,000 people at a football game, that kind of changes the dynamic. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've really appreciated the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to these last 3 home football games.
So, Bill, this is Todd. How do you balance your new PA responsibilities for football with fall baseball, because it's been hot and heavy lately?
It hasn't been too difficult because I have, along with PA for football, I have some other football responsibilities kind of behind the scenes, helping out with publications, game programs, game notes, things of that nature. So I'm used to balancing my time at this time of the year between baseball and football. Although, you're right, Todd, baseball has a lot more activity going on during the fall than it did back in the old days, right. In the Skip Bertman and even in Paul Maneri's days as the head coach. Fall was kind of more a quiet time for baseball, but now it's 365 days a year. A lot of focus on this baseball team with all the new players. In fact, D1 baseball just ranked LSU baseball as the #1 overall program in the country, not so much based upon its past history, but based upon where it has been recently and where it looks to be heading toward the future. So that was a great honor as well. So yeah, you said it well. Things are really hot right now for LSU baseball, although it is only October.
Well, and then the D1 baseball also ranked LSU's roster, or maybe I'm saying that wrong, #1.
Correct.
For this season, and that includes transfers and recruiting class.
Correct.
How have those guys looked in the spring? I mean, in the fall games.
Man, it's been impressive so far, Todd. There've been a lot of players have really stood out. You know, Jay, whenever he's asked about what he likes about the team so far, the first word he uses is physicality. He really likes how physical and how much power this team has, which though that characteristic has also been pretty prominent in Jay's previous 3 teams here at LSU. What may separate this team from the other 3 is that not only does it have a lot of physicality, it also has a lot of athleticism. I think we'll see this probably be the best overall team speed we've seen at LSU in Jay Johnson's tenure here. He feels like he has the type of athlete now to fully run his type of offense, the combination of power and base stealing ability. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a different club this year, maybe a more well-rounded team, whereas instead of one that relies so much on the home run as the past 2 have, this team may be able to score in a variety of different ways, unlike some of the other teams which relied mostly on power.
Now, Devin Sheeran, one of the top transfer pitchers that Jay brought in from Mount St. Mary's, tore his ACL.
Yeah.
At least it was announced in early October. I'm not quite sure when he did it, but he's a 6'5" right-hander.
Happened over the summer.
Happened over the summer.
Yeah, it happened over the summer. Right. That's right.
Well, so how does that affect his plans for the pitching staff?
So the good news is, in Sheeran's case, he is only in his 2nd year of college. He would have pitched as a true sophomore this spring of 25. So he is eligible to return. He is not draft eligible in July of 25 in the upcoming MLB draft. So the thought is he's going to take a red shirt due to the injury and be back, and hopefully will be ready to go in 2026. But I don't believe we'll see Sheeran pitch this 2025 season, but he should be healthy and ready to go by the 2026 season when he will be draft eligible, and hopefully he'll be able to contribute at a high level. But other than Sheeran's injury, at this point, the team's been very healthy and a lot of new arms. In fact, we have 26 total new players, highlighted by a real influx of talented pitchers. So we're looking forward to all those guys and what they can do. What they've shown so far in the fall, and then how they can translate it into the spring.
How has the return of Chase Shores been?
Been really positive, Todd. In talking to some of the guys on the staff, along with Jay, they've been very impressed with Chase. Of course, we knew as a high school recruit a few years ago, of course, he was a true freshman on the 2023 team and was already a prominent part of the staff. He started the first weekend of that 2023 season. He made a few other starts early in the year. He was a prominent reliever in SEC games early in that 2023 season before suffering the elbow injury and, of course, underwent Tommy John surgery. Thought perhaps he'd be back at some point at the end of last season, but just the timing wasn't quite right. But now he appears to be at full strength. Velocity is up near 100 miles per hour. He's working on his breaking pitches with Coach Nate Yeske to give himself a full range, a full repertoire. So I think he's a guy who's going to be very, very prominent, obviously, in the pitching this season. And the other name that has really stood out among the returning pitchers is Cade Anderson, the lefty from down here in the Covington area. Was a superstar pitcher in high school, was injured his senior year of high school. That's probably why he came to college. Had he not been injured his senior year, he likely would have been a very high draft choice. But he came to college and showed flashes of brilliance last year as a true freshman, and then struggled a bit once SEC play started. But by the end of the season, you guys may remember that Anderson was an extremely reliable reliever. So I think you can look for Shores and Anderson to be good, very strong candidates to be a part of the starting rotation when the season begins.
I was going to say, after Anderson and Shores, who are a couple of candidates for the third starter on the weekend, Bill? Just guessing, you think?
Yeah, the names that stand out are a couple of transfers. Zach Callen is a guy that Jay saw pitch for Wofford. Wofford was in our regional last year in Chapel Hill. We played Wofford twice, but we didn't face Zach Callen. But he was their ace all year. He's a guy who has a lot of experience, and he's certainly a guy who could be a great Sunday starter in the SEC. And the other potential starter who stands out right now is Anthony Ianson, a transfer from UC San Diego. He pitched for Team USA over the summer. He's a very highly regarded, hard-throwing right-hander. Callen, by the way, is also a right-hander. So I like Ianson and Callen to be candidates for the starting rotation as well, along with Anderson and Chase Shores. And of course, there are a wealth of other guys. I haven't even mentioned yet William Schmidt, who of course a superstar pitcher here at Catholic High in Baton Rouge, was projected to go among the first 10 picks of the first round of the draft, but turned the draft down. Had a dream of playing at LSU. He wants to live that dream, so he came here and enrolled at school. Certainly Schmidt is a guy who will make some noise as a true freshman as well. And a young man by the name of Kaysen Evans, who's a right-hander, a true freshman from Houston. He has a lot of big-time ability, both as a pitcher and as an infielder. So he's made some noise as well early in these fall scrimmages.
Trains are everywhere. You should always expect one, even on private property. Only cross tracks at designated crossings that fit your equipment. If you don't fit, don't commit. Look, listen, live.
Bill, in July, towards the end of July, Baseball America went ahead and tabbed LSU the number one team in the way too early 2025 rankings. Of course, that was way too early. But who's going to replace Tommy White at third base?
Well, that's a very good question, Todd. There's some candidates. It's kind of ironic that Josh Pearson's younger brother. We call him his little brother, but John Pearson, Josh's younger brother, is actually much bigger than Josh. So John looks a lot like Tommy White, honestly.
Wow.
In body type. John, in fact, he's also going to wear Tommy's old number. He's wearing number 47.
Does he have any gold chains?
Yeah. I haven't seen not quite the array that Tommy had, but I know he has a few. But John Pearson, he's listed at 6 feet, 205 pounds. He's probably a little heavier than that, but he's a big, burly guy, an offensive threat, very powerful. He kind of reminds you a lot of Tommy White. So John Pearson certainly is a guy who'll get some playing time. Tanner Reeves, I think, is a name to watch at third base. Tanner Reeves was an outstanding All-American junior college player at Blinn College in Texas. In fact, he led Blinn last year to the JUCO National Championship.
That's where Cam Newton went to school. Excuse me.
Is that right?
Yes, he did.
He didn't play baseball, Glenn.
Played football.
That's right. That's right. But Tanner Reeves didn't play football at Blinn, but he did play baseball. He played really well as an infielder at Blinn College. And as I said, helped lead them to the national title. Great numbers as a left-handed hitter. So I would keep an eye on Tanner Reeves also as a guy who could make some noise in the infield. And then you've got guys like, you got some versatility. Daniel Dickinson is probably the most highly regarded of all the D1 transfers. He played the past 2 seasons at Utah Valley. He can play shortstop. He can play third. He can play second base. So Dickinson certainly is a guy who's going to be a candidate to start somewhere and play at the top of the lineup. When I mentioned athleticism and more team speed and more base fielding ability, Dickinson is one of those guys that comes to mind. So, a lot of candidates in the infield, along with, you've got the guy who started at shortstop last year, Michael Braswell's back. The guy who started at second base last year, Stephen Milam, who was an all-world freshman. and of course, Jarrett Jones is back at first base. So a lot of experience in the infield, along with a real influx of very talented newcomers.
So the only questions I have now for you are who's going to be the battery from the left side and the catcher. Can you join us?
Yeah.
Can you stay with us through the break, Bill?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. We'll be back with more of Bill Franques here on Tiger Egg Radio right after this.
It's time to start betting on yourself. Louisiana 988 can help if you're dealing with tough emotions caused by gambling habits. You can share as much or as little as you want, and it's completely confidential. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
Hello, welcome back to Tiger Egg Radio. This is Glenn Guilbeau, Tiger Egg editor, with Tiger Egg executive editor Todd Horne, and via the Max House hotline, Max Home hotline, where there are over 50,000 Max Happy Home owners and counting. Bill Franques. Bill Franques has hung on with us, and before our commercial break, we're about to ask you about the battery for the LSU baseball team this spring, the catchers.
So, hey, Bill, last year LSU had a plethora of riches behind the plate with
Plethora.
Hayden Travinsky, Alex Milazzo, and then I guess the heir apparent was expected to be Brady Neal, but he ended up transferring to Alabama.
That's right.
So LSU for a while didn't have any catchers, but I understand that's not the situation at all right now.
No, in fact, Todd and Glenn, LSU may be in its best situation, depth and talent-wise at catcher since Jay's been here. You've got four very proven catchers. One's a true freshman, but three of the four are experienced veteran collegiate players. Now, none of them have SEC experience, which I realize that's a difference. But you start with Blaze Priester, who actually was at LSU back in 2022 as a true freshman. He's a local kid from Denham Springs, went to Live Oak High School. He was on the 2022 club here, transferred, played junior college ball for 2 years at Meridian in Mississippi, enjoyed a tremendous amount of success. And he's back now at LSU as a fourth-year junior, much more mature, both physically and mentally. And he's been a guy who's very impressive, both behind the plate and at the plate. A lot of power. He's hit several home runs already in the intra-squad games. He's a right-handed hitter. So Priester is definitely a name to watch. And then you have two D1 transfers, both of whom have had great success at other schools. Luis Hernandez is a native of Puerto Rico who has played the past 3 seasons at Indiana State. And astute college baseball fans know that Indiana State has one of the best programs in the Midwest. They're annually among the teams contending for a regional in that part of the country. And so Hernandez, also a right-handed hitter, a lot of power, can play first base and catcher. He certainly will make a big impact. Could also make a big impact as a DH. Eddie Yaman. Eddie Yaman is a catcher and first baseman, right-handed hitter, big kid, super powerful, 6'5", 205 pounds. Has played 2 years of college ball at Dayton before transferring to LSU. And I know Jay has commented about how he loves how physical and how powerful Yaman is. So he certainly can provide a boost to the catching core, as does the true freshman, Cade Arambidi, true freshman from Tomball, Texas. He's a guy that many thought would not even come to college. He's a superstar major league prospect, but he wanted the college experience, elected to come here and enroll at LSU. So Aaron Beatty, another right-handed hitter, big kid, 6'3", 210. He certainly will contend for playing time as well. So, yeah, I think Jay would feel great with any of those four behind the plate. So he has a lot of options this year at that position.
Talking to Bill Franques, LSU baseball expert via the Max Home hotline. You know, Todd, when I asked Bill to be on the show this evening, at first we tried to get Jay, but he's got a speaking engagement tonight. And so I asked Bill if he could pinch hit, and Bill said, well, I really don't know that much about the team, but I'll try.
Yeah,
I'm going to go
sounds
general.
like he doesn't know that much about the team.
Yeah, well, I don't know as much as I will know in a few weeks and a few months. By February, I'm going to be on top of everything. I promise.
I would say you're pretty much on top now, pal.
I'm still learning.
Well, I'm going to stretch it a little bit more because I want to know about the left-handed pitching because I know that took a hit in the portal.
Okay. Yes. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Todd, because I wanted to bring up Jake Brown. Jake Brown, of course, Louisiana Player of the Year as a freshman at Sulphur High back in 2023. Played here last year as a true freshman, but just played in the outfield and really toward the end of the year started to make great strides as a hitter. In fact, hit a big home run in the regional in Chapel Hill in a clutch situation. Jake also was a stud pitcher in high school. So I think you can look for Jake Brown, a left-handed pitcher. You can look for him to see some time on the mound this year. I think that's going to be a big boost to the left-handed pitching staff is to have Jake Brown not only play in the outfield and give you a great left-handed bat, but also give you an arm as well from the left side. Another big get for the Tigers is a kid by the name of Cooper Williams, who originally was committed to Texas A&M, but then decided to change it. He changed his mind, had a change of heart, came here this summer on a recruiting trip, loved everything about LSU, and he ended up signing with LSU instead of signing with Texas A&M. So he's a true freshman from Alvin, Texas. Big kid, 6
Nolan
foot,
Ryan.
75 pounds. Yeah,
Nolan
that's
Ryan's
right.
hometown, baby.
That's right, hometown of Nolan Ryan. He's a little bit different than Nolan, of course, from the left side, but he's a guy to watch as well. Along with one of the JUCO, Tigers don't have many JUCO transfers. I mentioned Blaze Priester. The other JUCO transfer who's going to be prominent is a kid by the name of Connor Ware, a left-handed pitcher, pitched at Pearl River Community College. He's a Mississippi native. So Connor Ware also is a lefty to watch. And then, of course, bringing back, I mentioned Kate Anderson, who's going to be a strong candidate to be a starting pitcher. And don't forget about DJ Primo. Primo's a local kid, Central High School. He's been in the program for a few years. He certainly can contend as well.
All right, Bill Franques, thanks a lot for joining us. We really appreciate it, your wealth of knowledge. We'll see you out at Tiger Stadium this season.
Get ready to make some noise this October with the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Join us for the 11th Annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair on October 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where creativity and music come together. From live performances to hands-on workshops, there's fun with a beat for everyone. Visit batonrouge.makerfair.com for details. Brought to you by your East Baton Rouge Parish Library, where creativity never stops.
All right, that'll be it for today's episode. I'd like to thank Bill, Todd, and Glenn for the discussion. We'll be back next week, but until then, stay tuned to TigerRag.com for all your latest LSU sports news.